Hi sewing friends, welcome to my sewing room. Today we are going to be sewing in the wild. I brought my sewing room along with me on a recent trip, and here is what I've been making. Some little crazy quilt squares that I thought I'd fashion them after this quilt that I shared recently to show you how I made this fun kids quilt using a crazy quilt method. I brought only a little bit of fabric along on my trip. I have a little basket of scraps and some squares I'll be using for foundation. Mine are 10 inches from a very thin piece of cotton. I have the bare minimum of supplies for my sewing project. I have a small cutting board, a ruler, an iron, and this is my portable ironing board I'll show you in a minute. And then I have a box with a pin cushion, scissors, and a couple of rotary blades. Just a few things that I'll need for my little sewing project. Here's my little ironing board cover that I made to fit my countertop. I made it to fit, I just cut a big square bigger than I needed. I added elastic, and on the inside of this is some quilted ironing board cover fabric that keeps my counter safe, and it acts just like an ironing board. Of course, I have a sewing machine. So to start, I'm going to get a little piece of fabric for the center of my crazy quilt block. I've given myself 5 sides to this little square, and it's not a square, it's a 5-sided little piece so that it doesn't look too much like a log cabin block. It's going to be more of a crazy quilt. After doing a little pre-thinking and laying some strips out and getting an idea of where I was going, I just started with that center piece and started working around just like a log cabin. But of course this is odd shaped, so you're going to have some areas where you need to have longer pieces so that all the background square there is covered. I pressed as I went along. I got my exercise getting up and down from my sewing machine, and I just worked right around those pretty little fish on that fabric there. Like I said, I don't have a lot of scraps packed with me on this trip, so some of the scraps are even little squares that have already been joined together, and that's okay. I'm trying to use it all up. As you can see, I trimmed away the excess pieces as I went along behind the new little patch that I've added, and then I'll save those if they're large enough to use in future quilt blocks. Once all of my patches are on my crazy quilt block, it's time to trim. So I just turn it upside down and then I will trim away the excess. And I can see here that I have lots of large pieces that I can use for the next block that I'm going to make. This is a kid's quilt, so I'm using some fun fabrics, and this had been a rectangle. I added one little cut in the corner there to make it 5-sided. You don't have to do that. It could be more of a log cabin if that's what you like, if that's the look that you like. And this little block with the Scotty dogs is 4 sides, but it's kind of off kilter 4 sides. So I went ahead with a 4-sided centerpiece just so you could see what that would look like. I had this 6-inch square of baseball fabric, and I did want to use it, but I didn't want it to look like a square, so I just cut a very tiny bit off of 2 sides so that now it's more of a crazy quilt kind of block, and it's bigger than my other ones, and I think that'll work out just fine. So I'm going to add that to my quilt as well. Thanks for joining me today as I sew out in nature in this beautiful desert area in my trailer. I really enjoyed doing a little sewing while I was away. I love sewing, and it's fun to bring it along. Thanks for joining me today, and I'll see you next time.